chaotic good. Briefly, for a single day in 2018, it appeared to the world that hell had been cancelled. In March of this year, an interview was published with Pope Francis, written by 93-year-old reporter and La Repubblica editor Eugenio Scalfari. Asked where bad souls go after death, the Pope was quoted as replying, "A hell doesn't exist. The disappearance of sinning souls exists." Almost immediately, the Vatican scrambled to discredit Scalfari's interview. They denied the meeting had ever been authorized and pointed out Scalfari's habit of conducting interviews with important public figures without taking notes or making recordings. They issued a statement ordering that no quotation of the article should be considered as a faithful transcription of the words of the Holy Father. In the month since, the Pope's denial of hell has been relegated to internet rumor. The story appears as an entry on Snopes.com, where it has been given the rating unproven. What are we to believe? Those of us zealous and fragile enough to worry about one day waking up in hell? Was the cancellation of hell fake news? And if not, how did the Pope arrive at this decision? If hell doesn't exist, and never did, perhaps we should go looking for hell in different places. Let us make hell a place on earth. Hell is on the internet. Hell is social media. For as long as I can remember, morality has appeared to be deeply out of fashion. The internet, especially, is meant to have broadened our horizons beyond morality. The dream of the cyber hippies was a technological new age, a hive mind dwelling on an elevated plane where users would coexist in harmony. Yet the internet is full of reductive moral judgment. It speaks in binaries because it is built on binary code. We rush to define ourselves with hashtags and labels. We express ourselves in solidarity and hate. We swipe left or swipe right and post hearts or snake emojis under Instagram posts made by famous people, because very few people are motivated to post online about things they feel ambivalent towards. Rather, people have feelings and feels. Good things are pure, while bad things like hell are cancelled. If you're a drag queen, these things can also be deceased. Images can be cursed or they can be blessed. Other things are woke, though the term is rarely used seriously anymore. The opposite of woke is problematic, a self-defeating term which, by definition, fails to identify the problem. On social media, a block list or trigger warning provides a moral framework for those unsure which opinion to hold. Memes, too, offer guidance in the form of semi-satirical commentary. One such meme is the alignment chart. The alignment chart comes from Dungeons & Dragons, the name of which will likely cause certain readers to roll their eyes. In its first 1974 edition, Dungeons & Dragons allowed players to choose between three alignments: lawful, neutral, and chaotic. They are, as they sound, intended as a prompt for creating characters as part of the game's collaborative fiction. By 1977, a new alignment axis was introduced, that of good and evil. It wasn't until the fourth edition of the D&D handbook that the axes evolved into 9 clearly delineated options: lawful good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, chaotic evil. Switching alignments during a game incurs penalties, although dungeon masters who lead D&D gameplay are looked down on if they enforce an alignment too harshly. Some plot twists can make a character's alignment spontaneously change, like finding a cursed item or sudden demonic possession. Alignments don't always feature in other tabletop games, and by the game's 5th edition in 2014 they became optional. This corresponded, oddly enough, with the rise of the alignment chart as meme. The TV tropes page for character alignments features a warning. Due to the controversial nature of this trope, and not to mention it's considered shoehorning to categorize people with these kind of tropes, there will be no real-life examples under these circumstances, since it invites an edit war. Wherever images are shared on the internet, you will find alignment charts. Wherever there is variety, diversity, nuance, you will find people who want to divide things into categories. Let's begin with nations, which are categorized in one of the oldest alignment charts. On this chart, Sweden is labeled as lawful good, the UK is lawful neutral, Israel is somehow true neutral, and Iran is lawful evil. The US, interestingly, is judged to be chaotic neutral. Another very odd alignment chart categorizes websites. Twitter is lawful good, Wikipedia is true neutral, 4chan is chaotic neutral, and the Pirate Bay, bearing the tagline Information is Free, is chaotic good. Facebook, intriguingly, is nowhere to be seen. The bulk of alignment memes are about pop culture, including Nintendo games. Smash Bros. Is lawful evil, Zelda is chaotic neutral, Paint software, MS Paint is neutral evil, Photoshop is true neutral, despite its monthly subscription fee. And characters from The Room, Lisa is chaotic evil, Tommy is apparently lawful good. From here we move into more arcane territory. A number of alignment charts examine internet culture itself, including expressions of amusement. Kek is apparently lawful evil, lol is true neutral, lel is chaotic neutral, and lamau is chaotic good. And frog memes. Dat boy is chaotic good, Pepe is chaotic evil, and T-lizard Kermit is neutral evil. 2016 saw a rush of US election alignment charts, which commonly classified Donald Trump as chaotic evil. Some from 4chan and outlets like the subreddit r/thedonald list him as chaotic good. Hillary Clinton is most often a neutral, either lawful neutral or neutral evil, depending on who made the meme. There is one alignment chart I found which features Ted Cruz as chaotic evil. Under his name, the author has placed a line of wingding symbols instead of a quote. The picture of Cruz is in black and white, but his eyes glow with a fiery red. As a meme, the alignment chart has never quite peaked in popularity. This has, very likely, guaranteed its longevity. Another factor is its versatility. It's a structure, a meta-meme, rather than an end in itself, which collates and critiques other memes in turn. Like the starter pack meme or the political compass, it is a way to make sense of internet culture from within. The alignment chart endures because of its near-endless capacity for customization. It is literally an empty grid waiting to be filled with pictures. Like a YouTube video thumbnail, or a picture in the Daily Mail's sidebar of shame, it crams multiple images into a single frame. The 9 characters who personify the alignments don't have to come from the same book, TV show, or fandom. They don't even have to all be fictional or all real. Sometimes they speak volumes about the taste of the person who made them. For instance, there's a surplus of alignment charts originating on 4chan which combine characters from South Park, Family Guy, The Dark Knight, and Super Mario, outlining the cultural diet of a 2012-era teenage boy. Google Trends shows a spike in interest in the alignment chart around 2012. It fell again soon after that, but its popularity has climbed steadily upward again over the last 6 years. The Reddit community, r/alignment charts, was formed in 2010, and in 2012 an empty alignment template was posted to Polyvore. The alignment chart closely resembles demotivation pictures, another elderly meme, and is, in a sense, simply a demotivation collage. Sometimes the images have a quote from the character below their assignation, explaining the creator's reasoning for categorizing them this way, but increasingly they don't. They just post a picture and leave it at that. The chart format was never official to Dungeons & Dragons. Instead, it originated online, becoming commonplace on DeviantArt and later Tumblr. KnowYourMeme.com cites the earliest known example as a 5x5 alignment chart, which appeared on DeviantArt in 2011. It included 2 extra horizontal categories, social and rebel, and 2 extra vertical ones, moral and impure, and featured an assembly of figures taken from TV, Family Guy's Peter Griffin, Arnold of Hey Arnold fame, and The Simpsons' Ned Flanders, and film, Rocky, Hannibal Lecter, Darth Sidious, and likely the most commonly named chaotic evil character of all time, Heath Ledger's Joker. It features, in my opinion, one of the most accurate true neutrals of all, Wilson, the ball from Cast Away. There are almost as many alignment charts about food as there are about every other kind of alignment chart put together. As children, we're told about the food pyramid. As adults, we're told about the keto diet, the paleo diet, about the benefits of veganism and the moral superiority of kale. It follows then that foods would be sorted by their chaotic spirit and inherent virtue. Intentional or not, food is the form of morality we practice daily. One of the best-known food alignment charts brings to mind the habits of good housemates and bad ones. The chart is about different ways to store bread. Once opened, putting a loaf of bread in a bread bin is deemed lawful good. Tying up the bag with a rubber band is true neutral. Tying a knot, however, is lawful evil. This one I don't understand. My parents taught me and my younger brother to do this, and it seems to preserve the bread just as well as a rubber band. Other charts concern themselves with condiments. Newman's own salad dressing is lawful good, as the company gives its profits to charity, while canned tomato sauce is chaotic evil. There's also a biscuit alignment chart. Thin mints are chaotic evil. This chart was clearly made by an American, and toffee-tastics are chaotic neutral. Even the vegetable aisle can be navigated with an alignment chart. Carrots apparently are lawful good, while mushrooms are chaotic evil. My personal favorite is a chart titled, "I Can't Believe It's Not an Alignment Chart." It's about butter substitutes, and each box on the chart is filled with a creamy yellow tub held close to the camera. Most of the pictures are grainy and poorly lit, furtive somehow, as though taken undercover in the fake dairy aisle of a Walmart late at night. In the neutral good box is a tub marked, "You'd butter believe it." Neutral evil is, "Unbelievable, this is not butter." The chaotic evil box is filled by a tub scrawled with what could be Comic Sans. It says, "What? Not butter?" That the creator of this chart skipped over memories of butter, another highly memeable oil-based butter substitute, strikes me as a tragedy. Do food alignment charts reveal a neurosis with which we treat food, an impossibility of ethical consumption contrasted with the marketing of foods as distinctly good and bad? Would anyone even want to consume a lawful food? Is consuming chaotic produce somehow aspirational? I, for one, view Monster Energy drink as chaotic, a shot of pure caffeinated dragon energy. These charts, all of them made by ordinary web users, I have yet to see an official food alignment chart put out by manufacturers as marketing, reflects how we have internalized the morality of food advertising, the naughty chocolate bar, the clean protein, and the dirty burger, even as it is critiqued with self-awareness and humor. In the D&D handbook, players are advised to choose a good or lawful good alignment. Playing an evil or chaotic evil character disrupts an adventuring party and, frankly, makes all the other players angry at you, the 4th edition says. Similarly, in online commentary, the neutral alignments are those which attract the most criticism. Neutral evil is sometimes called the jerk alignment, and all 5 of the neutral alignments, which cross the board and occupy the most space, are regarded with a degree of distrust. A neutral good character can be a pacifist, but lacking in conviction or loyalty, while a lawful neutral character is an unimaginative bureaucrat. True neutral can imply that a character works to preserve balance, but it can also imply that they're apathetic and vacuous. A chaotic neutral character, meanwhile, is exciting but inconsistent and self-interested. Chaotic neutral is the favorite alignment of edgelords. Perhaps it's too difficult to trust a centrist, however lawful or chaotic they might be. Even if a character succeeds at playing with true neutrality, to those on either side of them, they're only working to maintain a vacuum. In life, as in tabletop games, the glory goes to those who are most vocal about holding strong opinions. This tendency has increased in the era of Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram. To be bombarded daily with information and opinion, as most social media users are, requires discernment and a keen sense of self, a personal brand. Millennials, a magpie generation, are offered the world but burdened with the task of sorting through it, like so many NSA agents reading other people's emails. The alignment chart speaks to this dilemma. It boils online discourse down to its essence: pop culture, pictures, and uncomplicated judgment. Pinterest attributes a certain quote to Dante, but I am unwilling to judge for certain if it's true. The quote reads, "The darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of moral crisis." Certain parts of pop culture play a role in keeping the idea of hell alive. Horror films, of course, tend to dwell on the concept. There's Drag Me to Hell, the criminally underrated As Above, So Below. Insidious. Hell here is a place where they play Tiny Tim. And the Hellraiser franchise, for starters. Hell also appears frequently in Futurama, Spawn, Hellboy, and occasional episodes of South Park. Hell also features prominently in video games. Devil May Cry is loosely based around the Divine Comedy, while in Saints Row 3, Get Out of Hell, the hero flies around an open-world hell equipped with weapons inspired by the Seven Deadly Sins. Two well-regarded indie titles, Limbo and Pinstripe, send their protagonists through the darker locales of the afterlife, and there is even a PS3 game titled Dante's Inferno. Classics of the Hell game genre include the Doom series and 1987 ZX Spectrum title Soft and Cuddly, which features an intricately drawn neon portrait of Alice Cooper as its closing image, with the caption, "Go to Hell." I cannot help but think sometimes that the reason Hell endures as the muse of geek culture, even now after it has fallen out of fashion, and after even the Pope is rumored to have given up on it, is that Hell corresponds with an enduring black and white morality, one which serves as the muse of pop culture. It's something we don't speak about out loud very often, perhaps because we can't, but which thrives in the silence between laptop user and screen. It drives people to segment pop culture and everyday life into alignments for the purpose of entertainment and instruction. There are 9 alignments. Conveniently, there are also 9 circles of hell. At the entrance to Dante's Hell is the vestibule of the futile, where the opportunists, the uncommitted, and pusillanimous suffer. Those who are too cautious in life, too cowardly or neutral to take sides and make their opinions known, are cursed to chase after a moving banner, which they will never grasp. While doing this, they are also tormented and stung constantly by wasps. Their tears and blood and pus drip onto the ground, and the bilious mixture is feasted upon by maggots. It's a vision beyond the imagining of even the most sadistic game designer, even Soft and Cuddly's teenage punk progenitor John George Jones. By placing this particular form of torture at the entrance to hell, Dante is playing a trick on the reader. He's daring you to make up your mind and choose to believe in his narrative or not to. He's asking you to decide where you're aligned. A similar tactic, more crudely executed, occurs with alignment chart memes. Even the avowedly neutral risk finding themselves placed on the chart. According to Dante, you're implicated and subject to judgment simply by bearing witness. You're damned. And if you're reading this, it's too late. When you type the word millennial into Google, you'll quickly find the term millennialism or Kailism. In eschatology, millennialism is a belief popular with certain sects within Christianity that there will be a golden age of righteousness, lasting for 1,000 years, before the final judgment and the world to come. Heaven will be a place on earth for a time, but after that the world will end. Millennialism finds its inspiration in the book of Revelations, in a verse which describes an angel descending from the heavens, holding the key to a bottomless pit. He seizes the devil, throws him into the pit, and locks the door. Then John, the narrator, writes, "Then I saw thrones, and those seated on them were given authority to judge. I also saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their testimony to Jesus and for the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or its image, and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended." Sometimes I think mine is the most judgmental generation, not in its consistency, but its frequency. Judgment itself is a trend. The institutions which once did the judging for us have crumbled and fallen away. This is almost certainly good, but what has followed is a frenzy of mediated judgment as sport. Personally, I don't trust my own judgment. For me, at least, polarities of judgment have always been a symptom that something is wrong. There's a psychological tendency called splitting, developed by Ronald Fairbairn as part of object relations theory. It describes exaggerated black and white thinking, often in relation to whether a person is good or bad. In relationships, someone splitting will view another person as all good or all bad, as completely perfect or inherently flawed, or even evil. This creates instability of emotions, extreme reactions, and an interpretation of love as something dangerous, violent, and damaging. Depressed people are prone to splitting. So are people with narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. You can apply splitting to yourself or to the outcome of something requiring effort. It's a shortcut for making sense of the world, albeit in a way that causes harm rather than making life easier. I'm one of those who, when depressed or under stress, turn inward with extremes of judgment. On those days, social media becomes impossible, as does any kind of writing work requiring certainty in one's opinions. Twitter, especially, appears to me as a scrolling feed of other people's judgments, a torrent of strangers and distant acquaintances telling me they feel very strongly about something, that it's good or evil. Usually evil, though they don't go so far as to use that word, and that I should believe this too. On those days, I have to avoid social media entirely, because I start to think of myself as profoundly flawed. By withholding judgment, I try to be sane. All of the judgments, the alignments listed in this essay, were made by others. None are my own. This is because I have made a career in evasion. Words provide me with space to be slippery. But I have invented an alignment for myself. I am awful neutral. If hell exists, I am surely condemned to the vestibule of the futile. I have noticed a certain tendency when people apply the alignments to themselves. They'll almost always call themselves chaotic, whereas other people are considered lawful. In this sense, the alignments reveal something about the nature of existence. Invariably, other people seem to have a method, while we appear chaotic to ourselves. Early in its existence, Dungeons and Dragons itself became the subject of a number of moral panics. In 1979, it was first linked in media coverage to the disappearance of James Dallas Egbert III, a teenage boy who had never played the game. Later, in 1982, an anti-occult advocate named Patricia Pulling blamed the game for the suicide of her son, Irving, and claimed he had been placed under a D&D curse. Pulling filed lawsuits, produced campaign leaflets about Satanism and tabletop gaming, and founded Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons, BADD, a one-person campaign group. The subsequent decades saw media coverage, academic research, and fiction continue the debate around the morality of Dungeons and Dragons. Commentators appeared on news channels claiming that when burned, D&D game pieces emitted a screaming sound. The game was linked to murders, suicides, and satanic ritual, and in 2004 was even banned from Waupun Prison, Wisconsin, based on the belief that it was encouraging gang violence. It remains to be said that D&D gives players the option to remain unaligned. No one is obliged to morally self-determine, just as, it goes without saying, none of the alignment charts shared on social media claim to be 100% correct. They're based on opinion, on the individual creator's personal judgment. It's in the interest of every social network that we, as users, continue to think in terms of polarities. Black and white thinking lends itself to data categorization, and marketing, and profiling. Ambivalent users are harder to advertise to, and are less likely to stir up debate. They get in the way of growth by thinking outside the platform. This mode of thinking surfaces in categorization memes, and in the alignment chart most of all. Social media, as a concept, is relatively young. We're still in the early phase, where we're drunk on information. From behind the screen, we love to play the diagnostician, and charts and labels and hashtags are satisfying because they simplify things, offering a guide through the online underworld. Alignment memes reveal in even the most chaotic discourse a latent morality, one we're aware of enough to joke about and to apply to comic books and tubs of fake butter, but of which we are reluctant to let go. In such a climate, even decrying our tendency to judge becomes yet another opinion, one which generates further debate. The opinion machine continues to operate, making more money for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and their ilk. This leaves me with a quote from Simone Biles on the abolition of all political parties, which found its way to me through the Instagram feed of Pamela Anderson, shared on October 12, 2017. Nearly everywhere, often even when dealing with purely technical problems, instead of thinking, one merely takes sides, for or against. Such a choice replaces the activity of the mind. This is an intellectual leprosy. It originated in the political world and then spread through the land, contaminating all forms of thinking. This leprosy is killing us. It is doubtful whether it can be cured without first starting with the abolition of all political parties. A reply below reads, 4 hearts.